Hello, hello, and welcome to today's live training from whatever platform that you are watching on, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook in the Facebook group, or you're watching on Instagram. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm so grateful to be here today to be able to share my knowledge with you and hopefully help you discover something new. Today, I will be talking about the dreaded topic of paying back student loans. Such a tender topic for so many people, whether you just graduated last week or you graduated 10 years ago. Student loans are the gift that just keeps on giving, though maybe gift is not the right word here. But for most people, borrowing money was a necessity in order to be able to go to college and grad school. And the amount that you had to borrow is dependent on a lot of different things, but very few are lucky enough to get through grad school without having to borrow any money. 90% of PT students graduate with some amount of debt, which is a lot. So this is a topic that a lot of people can relate to, a topic that many people do stress out about, and a topic that many people need support and guidance around. So this is what I hope to do today. I want to share my experiences with paying down my student loans, and I want to give you some tips and guidance on how to effectively pay down loans, or really any kind of debt for that matter. But I'm also going to touch on a little bit on savings and how to save money, because paying off loans, saving money, budgeting, all of those really do go together, so they all need to be talked about. So for anybody new here, anybody new watching, whether you're watching, like I said, on YouTube or Facebook or on Instagram, I am Dr. Jody Miller. I'm a physical therapist and mentor to PT students and new grads. I've worked in just about every setting that you can think about or that you can think of. I've worked in acute care. I've done outpatient. I have done home health. I have done travel PT. I've done pediatrics. I have done skilled nursing. I've been a rehab director. Most of my career was in skilled nursing facilities. I've worked in oncology. I'm an adjunct professor. I do a lot of lab assisting at different PT schools. And I own my own practice, my own cash-based practice where I work primarily with gymnasts and cheerleaders. But I'm also the owner of Clinical Connections Mentoring, which is where you are now. So it's no surprise to anyone that college and grad school, whether that's PT or OT school, have become very, very expensive. The cost of college and grad school tuition can just continue to rise, especially in terms of PT school. It's starting to outpace the salaries that rehab professionals get once you graduate, not to mention the cost of living that continues to outpace raises and wages. So it's a concern, it's an issue, but it's also reality. And because it's a reality, we cannot avoid it. For now, we just kind of have to meet it head on, figure out how to make it work until things change. Things will change. They always do. We just don't know when those changes are going to happen. Okay. So let's start by looking at some numbers. So in 2020, the APTA found that on average, PTs graduate with around $143,000 of student loan debt. This does include undergrad loans, but 80% of that total comes strictly from grad school loans. Okay. Then in 2021, Jonathan Berry found that PTs that attended public PT schools owed an average of $103,000. Those that went to private PT schools owed an average of $138,000. Now, 80% of that was just for PT school education. So that made the average student debt just for PT education at about $116,000. This was in 2021. So depending on a bunch of factors, it can take anywhere from 7 to 30 years just to pay back your student loans, which could be a long time, right? Yeah, I get it. All sounds very, very bad, but it is possible. I do want you to know it's possible. My husband and I are both PTs. We met in PT school, a private PT school. So when we graduated, combined undergrad and grad school, we had about $200,000 in total student loan debt when we graduated. This was in 2007. But our salary as a new grad, we each were only making about $50,000, which is not great either, right? But with that, we were able to pay off all of those student loans in 9 years. Okay, so it is possible. And I will share how we did that in a little bit. Okay, but I do want you to know, even though you think you got a lot of loans, it is possible. Okay, first, let's start with talking about some of the options available to paying back your loans. Okay. So I want to start with loan forgiveness programs. So first, there's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, the PSLF. Most people are aware of this one. It's for anyone who works for a qualifying employer, either the government, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, or any other qualifying nonprofits. You must work for this type of employer for 10 years, and you have to make 120 qualifying payments towards your loan. Then, at the end of that period, that 10-year period, the remainder of your loan is then forgiven. A benefit of that is that you do not own taxes on any balance that is forgiven at the end of the repayment period. Okay, that's specifically for the PSLF loan. You don't owe any taxes on whatever's forgiven. However, there are some issues with this one. So you do have to show proof each year that you were employed by that one of those qualifying employers. And recently, only about 11% of those people that have qualified for that have actually had their remaining loan forgiven, only 11%. Now, the amount of money towards those loans that has been forgiven has significantly increased in the last year, but the percentage of people with their loans forgiven is still very low. Some of that is due to just incomplete paperwork. So of all those people that haven't gotten their loans forgiven yet, 25% of them have been denied just because they have incomplete paperwork. So you got to stay up on the paperwork and make sure it's being filled out properly. 14% of those just haven't even been processed yet. Okay. So because of that, PSLF can be very, very beneficial, but it might not be ideal to expect it or to even depend on it. Okay. Now, if you don't qualify for PSLF, meaning you don't work for the government or you don't work for a qualifying nonprofit company, you can apply to income-driven repayment loan forgiveness, or the IDR plan. So this means that you just pay back your loans based on your income and your family size. So those two things are factored in, and that's how it determines how much you pay each month. The remaining loan balance is forgiven at the end of the repayment period, but that period can range from 20 to 25 years, depending on the plan that you choose. Okay. So you still got to pay it for 20 to 25 years. Then whatever's left is forgiven. However, you do owe taxes on the amount that is forgiven at the end of that repayment term. Okay. Also, something to think about: if your income or your family size changes, so does your monthly payment. So it's not a consistent payment that you can expect each month if you're doing the IDR plan. Okay. You also may pay more interest over time if you have smaller loan payments over a longer period of time. So just because you're paying low amounts, your interest is still accruing. And so if you have a longer repayment period on low payments, you're probably going to end up paying more interest there. Okay. So loan forgiveness is an option, but it is not a guarantee. Okay. So now let's talk about some debt payoff methods, because not everyone's going to qualify for the loan forgiveness program or even choose to do it. Okay. So there are 3 types of loan payoff. There's debt consolidation, debt avalanche, and debt snowball. So we're going to talk about each one of those. So debt consolidation, most people kind of know about this one. This is where you combine all of your loans into just one loan, so you only have one payment. This is generally not preferred because it can cause the interest rate to change. Okay, so let's say you had one loan at 3% interest rate and you have another loan at 15% interest rate, and you combine them into one loan. You're now going to start paying a higher interest on the loan that was originally only for 3%. Okay, so it's helpful because then you only have one payment to worry about, but it often increases your interest rate. Also, the repayment plan starts over when you consolidate. So this also likely means that you're going to pay more interest because the repayment period now is longer. Okay. Right. The next one is debt avalanche. So this is when you pay off loans with the highest interest rate first. Okay. Then any extra money goes to the loan with the next highest interest rate. So once that first, let's say you have multiple loans, right? You have one at 15%, one at 10%, one at 5%. So you pay off the one with the highest interest rate first, the 15% one. Once that one's paid off, then any extra money you have goes towards the next highest loan, the one at 10%, and keep going. So for some people, this can be really frustrating because it appears that it's taking longer to pay off the loans, but this option does end up saving you the most money over time because you're getting rid of the high interest, and so it's not accruing at as much money. So you will end up paying less money toward your loans if you use the debt avalanche method, but it can be frustrating because it takes a while to get rid of each loan. Okay. The third one is the debt snowball. So this is when you pay off the loan with the smallest amount first. Then any extra money goes to the next loan with the smallest amount, and so on and so on. Some people like this method because it kind of gives you some small wins. So each time you pay off a loan, you feel like you're making a dent, and it can really help you keep the momentum going. Okay. So an example would be, let's say you have a loan for 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. You're going to pay off the loan with the smallest amount first in debt snowball. So you would pay off the loan for $5,000, and then any extra money would go to the next loan that's at $10,000. Okay. So those are the three types. There's debt consolidation, debt avalanche, and debt snowball. As I mentioned earlier, we were able to pay off our loans in 9 years. We use the debt avalanche method. Okay, so we started with the minimum payment for each loan based on a 20-year repayment plan. So we wanted the lowest payments possible. So we looked at all of our loans, did a 20-year repayment plan to give us the lowest monthly payment for each loan. Okay, then we calculated that total amount of money that we were paying each month to all of our loans combined. So just for reference, our total payment towards student loans each month was actually more than the mortgage of the house that we were able to buy our first year working. So that's how high our monthly payments were. Then, so we figured out how much we were paying towards each one, got a total. Then every few months, as we had extra money saved, that money went to it went as an extra principal payment toward the loan with the highest interest rate. Okay. Once that loan was paid off, we continued to pay the same amount of money toward all of our student loans, but the extra money that was originally going to the first loan with the highest interest rate, that extra money was now going to the next highest interest loan as an additional principal payment. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say we were paying a total of $1,500 each month toward 5 different loans. And let's say we were paying $300 toward the loan with the highest interest rate. Once that loan was paid off, that $300 then went to the loan with the next highest interest rate as an additional principal payment each month. So we were always paying $1,500 each month. Okay. We continued to pay that $1,500 until all of our loans were gone. So part of why we did this is because we always knew that we would get raises, right? We always knew that we would make more money than we were making that first year as new grads. So that mindset helped us to kind of keep those payments the same, to maintain those payments the same each month. It's also important to recognize that any extra payment that you make toward a loan, it needs to be a separate payment that specifies that it's going toward the principal only. I wrote that in the memo of the check, principal only. If you pay it online, just make sure it's specified that it's only going to the principal. Because if you don't specify that, part of that extra payment is going to then be applied to the interest of the loan. Okay. Your goal is to get the principal of the loan to go down. This in turn then brings down the amount of interest that you're paying on that loan as well. Okay. Full disclosure, we were able to make the biggest dent in our loans when we worked as travel PTs. So we did travel PT for about 8 months. We were able to save a ton of money there. And that's when we were able to make the biggest dent in our loans. Neither of us worked a PRN job until about 5 years into our careers. So we were just working the 40 hours. That was important to us. We didn't want to work multiple jobs. We just focused on us for about 5 years. Within that 5 years was the traveling. So we were able to make a good dent in the loans because of the travel salary that we got. And then both of us got the PRN jobs later. Okay, so now I want to talk about some tips for paying off debt just in general. So this is going to apply to any type of debt, whether it's student loans, mortgages, credit cards, car loans, whatever. Do your best to avoid more debt. So if you can pay cash for something, do that. Adding more debt is just going to make that journey longer and so much harder. So if you can't pay cash for something, just ask yourself, think about it. How much do you really need that thing? Is it a want or is it a need? Okay. Now, this is going to be dependent on how aggressive you want to be toward saving and toward paying down your loans, right? So what one person may feel is a want, somebody else may think is a need, based on how aggressive you want to be. Okay. It's generally a good idea to have a small emergency fund or a savings. I think $1,000 is a pretty good number, but just choose what you're comfortable with. And this number may change as life changes around you, right? This can be kept in a traditional bank savings account, which does earn a little bit of interest. Create and follow a budget. So track your expenses, look at your income. If there's anything extra, can you set aside a specific amount each month to go toward your savings or towards an extra loan payment? So this amount will vary, but make sure it's a number that you're comfortable with setting aside each month. Okay. Like I said earlier, that extra money needs to go toward the principal amount of the loan as a separate payment. Okay. It can also be really helpful to set up like a safety net fund. It's a fully funded emergency fund. And this is anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of income or living expenses, whichever you prefer, whichever you're more comfortable with. So this means taking a look at your income and your expenses and deciding how much you can put aside to build up a safety net in case anything were to happen, like you get laid off or you quit working for some reason, or maybe you have an unexpected major expense like you need a new roof on your house, right? So that's what that safety net is for. Now, the best place to put this money is in a high interest savings account. These accounts will pay you a much higher interest rate than typical savings accounts. So there are some right now that'll give you almost 5%, some a little bit more each month on the total amount that you have in that account. This number will change based on the economy, the federal interest rates, but it will also be higher than a standard bank savings account. So these high interest savings accounts are often online and accessing your money is super easy. It's just as easy as accessing it from a normal savings account. These types of accounts will earn you money much faster because the interest rate is higher. They're paying you more to keep your money there, which means every few months you can then take any extra money that you have in that account, any money over that safety net amount, and put that money toward extra principal payments toward any your student loans or any other debt you have. So let's say your safety net is $15,000. Once that account gets to $18,000, you can take that extra $3,000, put it toward your student loan, your credit card debt principal amount, and start paying that down. Okay. This is how loans get paid down quicker. Loans do not get paid down quicker by paying the minimal each month. Paying that is just going to guarantee that you are going to be you're going to be paying a lot more on that loan due to the interest accruing, and it will guarantee that you will be paying on that loan for the entire repayment period if you just keep paying the minimal payments. If you want to pay less on the loan and you want to pay off the loan quicker, you have to make extra payments toward the principal only. Now, how aggressive you are with this will depend on your comfort level with money and your current life situations, right? A lot of it goes into that. Okay. I understand that this can be a lot of information. I understand that it can be very stressful to even think about having to pay off student loans. I understand it can be daunting to sit down and just figure out how much money you can afford to pay and how much you can afford to put aside into savings. I get it. So if you'd like a little extra help here, I got you, right? I've created a mini budgeting course that can help you really just figure all this out. The course includes a budget and an income tracker that just literally breaks everything down for you each month. It shows you how much money you're spending each month, how much money you're earning each month. Then it shows you how much you can set aside for savings. It does the math for you to make it easier for you to see and just manage. It's really good for new grads who are trying to figure out all of this money stuff as you enter this new phase in your career. And it makes it super simple to just track everything coming in, going out, so you can see what you're capable of spending or where you might need to adjust. And it also shows you all of these numbers in real time. Okay. So if you're interested in more information about the budgeting mini course, feel free to email me at jodymillerdpt@gmail.com, or comment loans in the comments, and I'll send you the link to take a peek at the course for yourself. If you're looking for a little bit more support than that, then comment mentor in the comments below, and I'll reach out with other ways that I can help support you in any capacity. I want to help you, right? I want to help you stay on top of your finances, help you figure out this beast that is student loans. I hope you learned something new today. Please go ahead and drop in the comments your aha moment or something that really stood out for you, something new that you may have learned today. I want to thank you again for watching. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, please feel free to message me or leave your questions in the comments, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.